pulling up, ain't gonna stop. Hide if you want, cause it's ready or not. We the whole gang and we up on your block. Got the red dot on you, now take the shot. 2-8 don't face me, now I got my slide. We hunting down snakes, we aim for the hide. Try to jam me, I don't care what you say, cause the people are here and we win either way. Hey yo, shout out to the truckers who be honking on the road, blocking off the bridge even when the weather's cold. Missing out on money, but to them it do not matter. Fighting for their freedom is the reason that they gather. All over the world, anywhere that you can fathom. Ottawa to Paris, now they are not terrorists. Canberra to Vienna, run up a comparison. Trudeau can't stand them, then he tried to ban them. Call up an emergency and do it with some urgency, and call up the city police to take away the liberties. But the numbers going strong, you know we never stand alone. We taking back a rest, you better take the story on your phone. Then we go to stage, put the stick up on my plane. Ain't gonna show a back sport, you don't wanna ask for it. Then I'll call the truckers and we call it a 10-wheeler force. Block it now and no remorse. Australia, they hit the source, they calling for the power so that they can come to take your body, your life, to end your mortal strife. Take away the guns, then take away the funds. Hacking at the fundraisers so we know the hell awaits. And really think they're gonna stop it, but they'll never make a profit. No more water in the faucet, cause the workers don't deposit for the tyrants doing violence. Rebels got it moving silence, till it's time to make it loud. On the streets and in the cloud, get banned, stand up, you know we gotta man up. I ain't gonna little tyrant try to lock us up. Say we gotta wear a mask while they party in the club. Vax that thing up, or I cannot buy us up. Think the politicians forgetting who pay the pay stub. It's only been a couple years, you know that we are fed up. Truck Trudeau in the same gun for Joe. And if you try to lock me down again, then I'ma let it blow. If you try to push the vaccine, I'ma say no. If you think that you're safe, we better run up in your place. We done with the games, we done with the snakes. You better be scared, we'll do what it takes. Patriots pulling up, ain't gonna stop. Hide if you want, cause it's ready or not. We the whole gang and we up on your block. Got the red dot on you, now take the shot.
I won't take the vax, no. Fauci is a backhole. Why you even rap, bro? If you ain't spitting facts, though. Fire like Tabasco. I'll check the swag, bro. Them trust anyone on news and a lab coat bars. Why they always grifting for the black votes? TikTok pop star, swear it's all an act, bro. Now they want the truckers in the prison cause they mad, so I'ma make a song that made their next turn. Lassos. Call me rap cowboy. Even as a little DC, I was a loud boy. Spitting racist jokes in the class like a proud boy. Okay, who you kidding? I'm a Gavin that's McGinnis when I'm rapping like a tabloid. 9/11 inside job. Michelle's got a real big schlong. Probably like 10-inch long. They probably wanna end this song, but we ain't gonna end this song. No, McDonald's fries kill more people than Corona did. Masked up, class suffocating all the COVID kids. Let me take a breath. They're praying on a death. I blame it on the left. Taking who you rep. Jesus Christ is the set. I can see that they upset. Gays go to hell. Why? Cause they have anal sex. That's why.
Patriots pulling up, ain't gonna stop. Hide if you want, cause it's ready or not. We the whole gang and we up on your block. Got the red dot on you, now take the shot. Stay awake, not woke, I'm tuned in. Your point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call on blue, the way you be cluing. Stay awake, not woke, I'm tuned in. Your point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call on blue, the way you be cluing. Have we had enough of your lies for one night? Have we felt enough of our pain to know it's real? How do you feel? Sick and tired of the lies, all I'm feeling is the pain. It's the devil in disguise while I'm standing in the rain. Water pouring from the sky, but you tell me the opposite. Like I don't have a consciousness, like I'm stuck in the matrix and my brain's up for the taking. But we don't do that, I know my facts. They say that he was elected, but where the stats at? They say the jab the only way to get your life back. But if you have a heart attack, then they will go to hide that. Look at the FDA, acting like KKK, trying to run all our lives like we they brand new slaves. Lose the job, banned from playing segregation, all the same. They call themselves progressives, but they taking us all back again. Bring the world to darkness and sacrifice the children then. When it's said and done, then you will never live with hope again. I say that we break the chains, we can't leave the world the same. Make love real again. As we fly above the truth, I ask of God, am I with you? I walk the path, go to the light, but still I feel that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You are now tuned in with me. My name is Chandler Crump, and this is Crump Live, our twice-weekly show we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8. We break down what is going on in the world, what is happening, and how it affects you. And today is a very special episode because today's date is June 21st, 2022, or as some may refer to it,
it's as good as Judgment Day. It's because today in Georgia and Alabama is primary runoff day, and in Virginia it is their very first primary. And I don't believe they do a runoff, but if they do, it'll be at a later date. But either way, today is 3 very large races. I believe those are the only states that things are happening right now. And we're going to be reviewing what is happening. And actually, as of 6 minutes ago, because we just started our show 8:06 p.m. So as of 6 minutes ago, the polls have now closed in Alabama. And they already closed in Virginia and Georgia, and the tolls are starting to come through. And we're going to talk about Georgia in a minute, but I've been giving Georgia a whole lot too much love. This is my home state, so I want to see if we can at least take a look at what's going on in Alabama first and see just how crazy things are. So obviously the polls closed 6 minutes ago, so doesn't look like there's any results streaming in quite yet, but this race is for the Senate seat of Alabama. So big news right here, and it is Mo Brooks versus Katy Britt. So this is big. And you know, Katy Britt has the Trump endorsement. Mo Brooks lost the Trump endorsement. So this is big. And hold on, let me just make sure of something real quick. I don't want to say something that's incorrect. So Mo Brooks is currently a House representative, and they're fighting for a seat with no incumbent running. So this is there's no incumbent bias or anything like that. It's 2 people that have not previously held this seat or are not currently holding the seat. So it could be big. So Katy Britt has that endorsement. Mo Brooks does not. Mo Brooks lost the endorsement. So this is a heavy toll for Alabama. Now we switch gears to Virginia, and I believe I have this one right here. Okay, so Virginia, this is not as heavy, kind of leading up to Georgia, but of course I don't want to offend any of my very proud Virginians in the chat. I'm sure we've got a hearty bunch around here. Speaking of hearty bunch, we are of course live on Rumble and Getter as we do on every single one of our shows. So shout out to all my folks, Davini over on Getter, Andre Corbell on Rumble, and let's see here, who else do we have here on some of my other platforms? We're also live on Twitch, Facebook, all sorts of places. So if you see me like right now, say hey in the chat. I'd love to hear you guys. Oh, Shawnette, it's okay. You can be here for as long as you can, but nice to see you again as well. Absolute Zero Kill Kami, nice to see you as well. Sage Haru says Chandler has stepped up his music game. Good job. Oh, you are not ready for the next project. He's going to feature those 2 songs you just heard, plus a few others you haven't heard yet. So stay tuned and excited for that. But now, let's take a look at the Virginia results so far. So, they have begun to call these races, which is really crazy to me. I didn't think they would do it this early, especially in Georgia. But in Virginia so far, here's some of the House seats. So this is the very first primary, and it doesn't look like there's any runoffs that are happening, especially since every candidate appears to be winning outright anyways, at least so far in what they've predicted the vote's going to be. So 78, 47, and various percentages of the vote for the House Republicans. So those are 2, 3, 6, and 7. And then the only Democratic primary results to speak of is just in the 8th with whoever D. Bayer is. We don't really care. But this is some cool stuff coming from Virginia. So if you're in one of these House districts, maybe you voted today, let me know. J.R. King says, hi from Texas. Nice to see you, J.R. Texas will be later next month, I believe, right? If I'm getting my facts right. But now, I know what you've all been waiting for. Let's get it. See if I can get a drum roll, please. We move to Georgia. Now, I'm making explicit mention to Georgia, not just because it's my home state, but also because there are a few Trump-endorsed candidates involved in the races here that are, it's a big story. It's a big story, and I'm gonna, very carefully break my news to you. So first things first, I do need to tell you that last month, we already had a sort of bloodbath in Georgia so far as a primary. So Brian Kemp, the sitting governor, the incumbent, won his primary against Trump-endorsed David Perdue. So that is one oof right there. So every oof is a major Trump loss in Georgia. Oof number 2 comes in the Secretary of State's race between Brad Raffensperger, or as many so eloquently and accurately refer to him as, Ratburger. And yeah, that's it, Ratburger. He won his primary against Trump-endorsed Jody Hice. That's oof number 2. Number 2. And there was a few other candidates as well. But they didn't. They get Minecraft oofs. So that was Jake Evans, who was endorsed by President Trump, and he reached a runoff with Rich McCormick. So that's a there you go. I didn't know why I didn't play. And it was Vernon Jones, who was Trump endorsed, running against Mike Collins, who made it to a runoff. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we've covered the past. That was all May. Now we arrive at the future. Today is June 21st, and it is primary runoff day. And I think those might get upgraded to real soon as we take a look. So some of these races have actually already been called, but let's take a look here. So in the House Representative District, 6th, which is a brand new district, was redistricted to become very easy for Republicans to take. So basically, this is the election day today. In the House district for the 6th, Rich McCormick, who was the favorite in 2020 for the 7th congressional, which was slightly competitive for Republicans, but eventually lost out to Carolyn Bordeaux. Sorry, I'm running out here. Jake Evans is currently trailing, and not by an easy margin, too. It was less earlier, but as more votes have started to come in, we can see the margin here. So Rich McCormick is at 10,000 votes to Jake Evans, barely under, quite a bit under 5,000 actually, with a percentage, a ratio of 71% to 28%. So that's not great so far. But even worse, although it has seemed to at least recover at least a little bit, is Mike Collins versus Vernon Jones. So Mike Collins is at 11,000 with Vernon Jones only at 3,300, 77% to 22%. Which I've spoken heavily about District 10 because it is a very interesting race, mostly because of how nasty the candidates have been to each other, mostly Mike Collins to Vernon Jones, and simply how much I've heard about this. And as you can see, my site is updating. Both candidates just jumped up 1,000% marker, but it doesn't really matter. They're still very separated for percentages. Jake Evans, oh, I'm getting a phone call here. All right, Jake Evans to Rich McCormick, 71 to 28. So the percentages are all remaining just about the same. I want to check in and see, okay, so Alabama, wow. Okay, this is just, okay, I don't know why I'm saying wow. It's 44 votes from one county. I'm glad I expanded it up, but there you go. Some votes starting to come in from Butler County and Alabama. It's funny, we have one of those in Georgia too, as well as a Calhoun. Wait, this is Alabama, right? We have half these county names I'm recognizing as, no, I think this is a glitch or something. Yeah, too many of these are Georgia county names, so I'm thinking this is like some sort of glitch. Either that or Alabama and Georgia have the exact same counties. No, I'm seeing there's some. Okay, anyways. Yeah, Katy Britt has heavy lead over Moke Brooks with 44 votes to 9, but that's the numbers coming in. And we can take another look at Virginia, but it's not going to matter all too much. These are some heavy numbers coming in from Georgia, so much so that there have already been a few calls. So obviously, guys, we have more to talk about than just elections. We're going to kind of weave in and out. But first things first, I want to check in. Hold on, I got to see who is texting me. All right, there you go. Dave Wasserman, who, I don't know how many of y'all know, but he works with the Cook Political Report, which is pretty big stuff. He has seen, and he says, I've seen enough. Rich McCormick will defeat Jake Evans. I have to tell this person to stop texting me. Stop. I cannot turn my notifications off. Stop. I am streaming. We've got busy news today. We are too busy to talk about this. Rich McCormick is projected to defeat Trump-endorsed Jake Evans, so that's big. One right there. And as well as he called it mere minutes after the votes closed in the 10th congressional district between Mike Collins, Vernon Jones. He says Mike Collins defeats Trump-endorsed Vernon Jones. Oof, number 2. So as you guys can see, this is some big stuff happening right now. These are congressional seats. These are going to be national figures that will talk about things. Mike Collins even branded himself as a teammate of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who easily won her primary last month. So Mike Collins arriving at this runoff, getting the endorsements of all the previous competitors, but even the endorsement of Brian Kemp, shows you kind of how things are lining up here in Georgia. With Trump taking L after L insofar as his endorsements. In fact, I don't think a single one of his endorsements has won. And I don't even know if he endorsed Marjorie or if he needed. I think he did endorse Marjorie. That's barely a need, but that's one endorsement. That's one, and I think maybe there's like 2 others, maybe. But Trump is taking heavy L's in Georgia, and it is starting to make many wonder if he still has that power in Georgia, or if there was ever a Republican primary in 2024 between potential candidate Ron DeSantis and Trump. Would Ron DeSantis carry Georgia, considering how freakishly unpopular Trump is appearing to be, at least insofar as the votes? Now, is it just Trump endorsing bad candidates? It's more than possible. I'll tell you from certainty, as a Georgia resident, I was not a big fan of his endorsement of David Perdue. A lot of folks weren't. A lot of folks were sick and tired of Brian Kemp, and I, along with a few others, thought that would be enough to at least drive it to a primary with Kemp winning. But no, outright, Kemp got 70% in his primary, which is crazy. But David Perdue wasn't an amazing candidate. So the question is it just Trump endorsing bad candidates, or is Trump's power waning in Georgia? Or is it both, one cause, one effect? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments where y'all stand. We've got a ton more topics we're going to be jumping into, not just election stuff, but we're going to keep peeking back every once in a while, especially as Alabama starts to toll in, because those polls just closed 16 minutes ago, so as people are starting to finish their way through the line, and in Georgia, there are still people more than likely in line, in some of these places at least, because the polls only closed about an hour ago, and it can take a while for you to get in there and get your vote casted, so we'll still have to see what happens, but I want to get some crowd involvement in the chat. Don Troches is completely off topic. Shout out Don, but he says the Drake album is horrible. Throughout all things and all known mankind, despite whoever gets voted for on Judgment Day, June 21st, we will always know that honestly, never mind, the Drake album was trash. Anyways, Alaskan says, has anyone found Joe's training wheels? I think that's a good question. I think that's a good one. What's going on, Renard? What's going on, Freedom Music? What's going on, Aaron, Alaskan Dream? All my folks in here today showing up. The Crump team, I think we're going to call them. Nice to see you all. I want to give a big shout out to our current Hall of Heroes members, people that have donated to support the show. I really appreciate Mark Cook and John L. If you're interested in supporting the show and joining our Hall of Heroes, the links are available down below, or you can also give a Cash App donation right here. But let's jump into what we've got to talk about today. We've got plenty of topics. It's not just elections, I promise you. This isn't just a primary show, because that'd be a little boring just watching the numbers tick through. I gotta make it entertaining for you, right? Let me throw a yup on that. All right, let's check in. So Twitter's board of directors has officially recommended that shareholders take Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter. Can I get a woohoo?
Got him.
Right there, that's how you do it. And investors in Tesla are standing to earn a profit of $15 per share if the deal closes immediately. So this is big news right here for things happening on Twitter, which of course does kind of connect to elections, because people on Twitter got to get verified, or people on Twitter got to reach their voters, things of that nature. Twitter's board of directors has unanimously recommended that its shareholders approve the $44 billion sale of the social media company to Elon Musk. Despite some concerns aired by Musk over the company's previous refusal to hand over accurate data concerning how many bots they have active in its user base, Musk reiterated his commitment to move forward with the acquisition last week. As reported by Rebel News, Musk, who addressed a company-wide all-hands meeting with Twitter employees, signaled to investors his desire to see the sale go through. Speaking in an interview on Tuesday with Bloomberg at the Qatar Economic Forum, the billionaire cited the approval of the deal by shareholders as one of a few unresolved matters in connection to the Twitter acquisition. The SEC filing on Tuesday includes a letter to investors by Twitter's board of directors, which said it unanimously recommends that you vote for the adoption of the merger agreement. Should the deal close immediately, Tesla investors in Tesla stand to profit $15. News of the recommendation pushed Twitter's shares up 1% on Tuesday morning, where they continue to remain around $38 in comparison to his purchase of $54.20 a share. So obviously, big drop in value there, but also it's just because how terrible the economy is right now. Stock market always in plunge. So Twitter gaining 1%, though it doesn't sound like it's much, is crazy in considering our current economy. So that's, people say Elon Musk can say a word, snap his fingers, and a lot of things will happen, and dang it, it's true. But this is really big stuff, so much so that, well, he is not talking about it, but he is talking about the economy in some way. He's probably lamenting just as much as the rest of us are, as he posted 7-Eleven with gas prices $7.11. Ladies and gentlemen, the gas prices are pretty dang bad. So bad that Grand Old Memes had to make a meme about it. And I think this one is really gonna call back some memories for you guys, shall we? Y'all ready for this one right here? I don't know if y'all are gonna remember this one.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
A slight Indian accent, or shall we say $10,000 in the bank account because of how bad these dang gas prices are. So if you are ready to accept that you may need a lot more money to get gas, then you should really rock a shirt that is going to push that message for you. So be sure you go to chandlercrump.com and pick up the He Did That shirt today with the Biden sticker on it pointing to the gas prices, which, well, as I say many times, are supposed to be a meme, but dang it, this is getting close.
Nope.
This is getting scary.
Yep.
Look at this. 7-Eleven at 7-Eleven. Can you believe it? No wonder so many Americans are getting out there for primaries. In fact, we had some of the greatest, what's the word I'm looking for? Turnout for primaries in Georgia we had seen ever in some precincts in some counties. It was crazy just how many people were flooding in to vote for their primaries, for their candidates. People are sick and tired, and that's only a precursor to what is actually going to happen in the midterms, because, the presidential election's up here, everybody wants to vote in it. The midterms are down here. The primaries for each respective election are kind of in between. So presidential here, presidential primary here, midterm primary here. So it's the lowest of the low. The only thing you wouldn't vote for as much in a primary is probably school board or something, which is bad. You should vote for school board, city council, whatever it is. Vote whenever you can, but it's still pretty low as far as interest goes. In Georgia, we had a record turnout in a ton of counties. I know at the very least the 10th congressional, the 6th congressional, and I think a few other congressional districts as well as for national, as well as for state offices, statewide offices like governor and secretary of state. Huge numbers we saw in Georgia. Great red state. So it's only a matter of time before we see just how well this is going to ring true, as there is an even higher interest this November. Will Stacey Abrams get elected? Who knows, but she's going to be versing Kemp. As far as the 10th and 6th districts go, I'm pretty sure these guys, this is their election day, and it's looking very, very close. Like Mike Collins and Rich McCormick will be the ones to carry their candles to DC this November. Especially considering that these were Trump-endorsed candidates that lost in Vernon Jones and Jake Evans. And as we can see it, although the reportings are a little bit different, are very close in their margin of defeat. Which is very curious for those that really thought the Trump endorsement would carry it all the way. Especially, I think you could see Mike Collins with that Kemp endorsement, which, frankly, for myself, made me trust him even less, and that's just from an unbiased perspective, not looking at anything else. The Kemp endorsement really is a stinker, in my opinion, but either way, well, it sure seems like 16,000 people don't care about the Kemp stuff, or maybe even like the Kemp stuff, especially, 77% voted for Kemp in that primary. It's big. But now, let's take another look in Alabama and see how things are panning out for Katy, Britt, and Mo Brooks. But it seems like Alabama's very slow, as it's still at the very inaccurate numbers here, with only 2 counties with 40 votes counted so far. I'm going to see if I can check another source real quick for you guys as we shift topics, but I do want to check this real quick just to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. I refuse to use the New York Times. They try to make me pay, and it's crazy. See if no, there's not much from Alabama quite yet in the runoff. Not quite yet. Between Katy, Britt, and Mo Brooks, and the only other runoffs are District 5 for is that Congress? Okay, cool. And then governor, which, these two are kind of minor, especially since this one's Democrat and they're not going to beat KIV. So Katy, Britt, Mo Brooks, there's not many votes coming in yet. I guess my old site was just as well. We don't know much yet. They say too early to call, 19 to 80, but there's only 20 votes counted so far, so we're just going to have to see. And then let's take another look at Virginia. It's just this race that's left to call, and it's the House 7th District, which I don't even know if that's even a competitive district for Republicans. I'd have to take a look. But any of my Virginians in the House, let me know. Exodus says Red Wave. Bryce says, hey, Chandler, so I'm a little bit late. You're all good, Bryce. Nice to see you. Brian Davis says, hello, everybody. Dark Shadow Fire. Ooh. Dark Shadow, I haven't seen you in so long. Nice to see you, man. He says, what's up, brother? Hopefully Lee Zeldin wins in New York. When are the New York primaries? New York primaries. Have those already happened? And you're talking about in the general? Have the New York primary elections happened yet? Or are they happening now? Primary elections in New York. Let's just take Ballotopedia. Did they, okay, so primary, June 28th. So they happen, okay, at the end of the week. All right, that's exciting. Excited to see how it goes. Yeah, it says here primary date is June 28th. So, although congressional and state, that's for State House. So June 28th, I'm excited to see it. I probably won't cover it live because, New York, but I'm hoping for you too. I hope for you too, Dark Shadow. Yeah, Hip Hop Thinker says it's Alabama. What are you talking? Oh, yeah, insofar as, the votes counting slow, they will be slow.
Yep.
So disrespectful, Hip Hop Thinker, spoken like a true, well, I don't know what you are, but spoken like a true hip hopper. I don't know how many hip hoppers are from Alabama, so Bryce says Alabama is dank. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on what's happening in Alabama, but speaking of keep an eye on things, I think I have one thing you guys should definitely keep an eye on. This meme right here. Come on.
Go, you know the thing.
Who remembers this? I might have to get this sticker and with these gas prices and say, remember this. That might be my next shirt. Shout out to Donaldo Trump over on Truth Social for this one. This is great. Seriously, you guys remember this? Barely just under $2 gas, literally $1.70 per gallon. The prices in some places have not doubled, not tripled, in some places not even quadrupled. Some of the prices have quintupled. In Georgia, we are approaching $5, and let's say in Georgia we at any point ever had around this, it's a little under a 5 times growth in gas prices. Between $1 to a little under $4, it's almost at 5 times, just a bit over 4. That's crazy, the gas prices. Can you believe it? Bryce says, oh man, that meme is so dank, gotta give it 10 out of 10. I agree. So shout out to Donaldo Trump all over on True Social. You guys can follow me on True Social too, just at Chandler. So if you're on True Social, make sure you check us out. I also posted our stream, so if you ever want to make sure you don't miss out on a stream, make sure you're following me on all these different platforms. But yeah, these are the types of things you need to keep out for. And you know what? If I ever was elected to Congress, I would probably put a meme like this on my wall, on my door outside, just to really taunt the other Democrats in my office building. But unfortunately, if you do that, one of their staffers might just run up to your door and rip them off the wall. This isn't just a hypothetical. This is a real thing that happened to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene just yesterday. Was it yesterday or was it even today? I don't know. But Dem staffer was caught defacing a poster outside Marjorie Taylor Greene's office. But the DOJ is declining to prosecute. Is anybody surprised?
Nope.
Would the DOJ ever take any of their own?
Yep.
I think I did that backwards. I'm supposed to hit nope on that one. But either way, you guys get what I was saying. Let's check this out. A senior staffer for a Democratic congressman has been caught defacing posters outside MTG's office. But a report Tuesday said that the Justice Department has no plans to prosecute him. The staffer works for Democrat Representative Jake Auchincloss? Sounds like Santa Claus. Anyways, and he was caught by Capitol Police and referred for criminal charges. However, just the news reports, the same attorney's office prosecuting Jan 6 protesters declined to approve an arrest warrant, according to police documents and interviews. And here's an image of the buster doing his dirty deed. Oh my gosh, holy crap! Shamika Michelle is in the building! Woohoo! Man. Nice to see you, Shamika. She says, nearing $5 here in North Carolina, too. And yes, for clarity's sake, Shamika Michelle's YouTube account is called Naked Girls TV. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. No, but anyways, nice to see you, Shamika. Woof. Nice to have you. You know what? If you wanna come on the show anytime and chat it up with me, you are always welcome, Shamika. But this is what we're talking about right now. Shamika, if you were elected to Congress and this buster showed up at your office ripping posters off your office door, would you take it? Would you take it, or would Shamik Meek come to roost? I gotta know, Shamika. I gotta know. No, but this is crazy. Here's the guy actually doing it. Somebody's like, who defaced it better? I mean, can you really compare them? I mean, because if you want to start comparing things, then I can give you a lot of pictures of Black Lives Matter protesters burning down cities, getting people killed, and even getting themselves killed by police officers simply out of their idea of racial justice. But of course, we're not supposed to make that comparison. We're not supposed to talk about May 19th, 2020. No, never. No, never. Anyways, based on the aforementioned, it is your affianced belief that the defendant, Timothy Dwan Heisem, did violate DC code, defacing public or private property. Officials told the news outlet that Green was informed last month that the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to prosecute because officials said they did not think a federal judge would let the case proceed. Okay, so according to this article, this happened like a month ago or so, so thank you for this information. Spokesman Matt Cordoni claimed that the real victims were people who have been forced to read Green's posters that stated there are only two genders, male and female, saying that the message is akin to bullying. While members of Congress have great latitude in what they do on the inside of their office, they do not own the exterior walls. Cordoni said. Regulations published by the House Buildings Commission prohibit posters from being posted in the hallways outside of members' house offices in the office building. Adhering a sticker to a poster that shouldn't be here in the first place is hardly a federal crime. So, the guy's saying, well, they were bullying us, so we can take down whatever we want. Whatever. You can't say there's two genders. They actually banned you actually saying that phrase on the House floor in the standing rules. Was it like this Congress, the 117th last year? So obviously we know where this Congress stands. It's woke over sense. It's woke over logic. It's craziness. If anybody's looking for an update insofar as the races, the Virginia races are all solid and settled between pretty much all the House representatives. Here you go. Just a quick peek. Nothing much more to report. The called races are so far still where they are. Doesn't look like, I don't think Virginia does runoff, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter anyways. This person's the lowest, and they're still at 55%. In Georgia, which is a runoff, these are just straight up blowouts so far, with more and more votes being counted. In fact, it's predicted that we've reached half the votes counted so far in the 10th Congressional District, with Vernon Jones trailing by, what is that, nearly 30 or 40 percentage points here. Between, I think that's 40 even, actually, 23 minus 76, so there you go, the gap is getting big. Jake Evans' gap is not quite as wide, but it's still quite there. Both of them Trump endorsed, so as you guys remember, that is a major right there. Big stuff coming from there, and then last but not least, Alabama is still in the Stone Age, so I think they're counting votes like, all right, that one says Mo Brooks. Let me read it again. Okay, that's Mo Brooks. And there's still like an equivalent chance of them messing up or something. But here, so far, it's 70-30, if you guys care, with 247 votes for Katy and 106 from Mo. So it looks like we're going to wait just a little bit longer for anything more to come of this. But so far, in the 3 states that we're paying attention to, that's where we're at right now. And if anybody's curious about the Georgia Secretary of State runoff, well, it's just for the Democrat office. We don't really care, but so far it's been called for B. Nguyen, who is going to be the first, first nominee for Secretary of State in Georgia to be an Asian American. You know, I guess. I'm sure they were the only ones saying applause, but I'm sure Democrats are very proud of it. As you can see, the state is very that color, so we'll see what happens in November, but don't hold your breath. Although, I don't know, B. Nguyen might be a better choice than Brad Ratburger. I wouldn't be surprised. But either way, we've got tons more to jump into, so let's keep going with the insurrections happening inside the House building. Let's move and go down the street from the Capitol building, but stay in Washington, D.C. as we approach the Supreme Court building. Now, as you guys know, right now we are at a pivotal time with the Supreme Court, as a major decision is expected to be coming very, very soon. In fact, maybe even within the week, about Roe v. Wade. This is going to be one of the biggest stories of 2022, and we are about to watch it unfold. Now, of course, as you guys know, there have been plenty of crazy protesters. Kevin Johnson is in the chat. He says, stop making fun of Alabama. Okay, I will try my best, Kevin. I will. And Shamika says, Shamik Meek would come out. Oh, boy. I would love to see that. I would definitely love to see that. But let's check in what's going on with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is apparently prolonging their wait for a highly anticipated decision in case expected to overturn Roe v. Wade. This could be big. The Supreme Court on Tuesday again prolonged the wait for its opinion, which is expected to overturn the right to an abortion. Last month, Politico published a leaked draft opinion, which indicated the Supreme Court is set to overturn Roe v. Wade. The justices released a handful of decisions Tuesday, but not in the case of Dobbs v. Jackson, which is the women's health organization. A ruling is expected to come by either late June or maybe even early July. Decisions were released Tuesday in the cases Marietta and a few others. The court also released an opinion in the case Carson v. Macon, which ruling against the main program that provided tuition to private schools but excludes religious schools. So interesting there. They are scheduled to release more cases on Thursday, though, so more decisions are coming down, and it might be very interesting. People are getting ready for that, though. That's why we have protesters. A very beautiful young lady, I'm sure of it, with armpit hair and well, actually, I can't call it a lady. I just can't. Let's watch to see you guys can see just how kind and law-abiding these protesters really are.
Patsy!
Okay? We're gonna be here. We're gonna continue to do what we're
Roe!
supposed to do.
Hell
We're
no!
going to stop the
Overturn
Supreme
Roe!
Court.
Hell no! Overturn Roe! Hell no! Overturn Roe! Hell no! Overturn Roe! Hell no!
What am I watching? Let's take a look at this young lady here, shall we? She's wearing white pants, and she's painted the bottoms red. I think that's supposed to be a period, or is it more gruesomely possibly supposed to be like the remains of an aborted baby? I don't know what it's supposed to be. And then this person also has an upper body thing with like a handprint painted on their chest. I really don't know why. And then, if you take a look at her midsection here, it says, not government property, painted over her stomach where the baby would reside, assuming she could get pregnant. I don't know. Is that a woman? What is a woman? What is a woman?
Rub my leg down.
But seriously. So this girl and this gentleman, I guess, have... I'm trying to pause on a good frame so you guys can see him well.
Overturn Roe!
Have handcuffed themselves to the fences surrounding the Supreme Court building. So, justices and all their clerks inside, they've got all these fences because obviously you're dropping big decisions. You know what's going to happen. You've got to get prepared, and you've got to get the police. And the police obviously tried to stop them. Couldn't do as well of a job as they expected, but they were able to handcuff themselves to the fence, start their little chants. Let's see what else they do.
Hey, at least this is better than firebombing clinics.
Brian Davis says they spilled spaghetti sauce on their pants. Both of them or just one? Oh yeah, I forget. They are supposed to be like one person.
Stop the cap.
Hell no! Today, the lives of millions of people are in the hands of these so-called justices. In a world without road, this is what it looks like. This is our reality.
The abortion argument is one of the saddest issues, but the way they go about it to me is so hilarious. Like they say, me having a baby, it's me being imprisoned in my own body. When 99.5% of the time, it is choices that the mother and father made themselves. There's obviously cases of assault and things of that nature, which are so minuscule that they're barely worth mentioning, but they've elongated it to be the most important part of the whole process. When there's like less than 10,000 of the abortions this year and in recent years added together were from any cause of that nature. In fact, I doubt it's even over 1,000. And if it is, it's barely over 1,000. It's not a major thing, but they've made it out to be we're imprisoned in our own bodies, and they're saying millions of lives are being decided by the so-called justices. Yes, they are. Millions of lives are being saved by the thousands of... I don't know what to tell you. It's true. They are saving lives if the decision goes the way that a lot of people want it to. And if it doesn't, well then back to the status quo, but it's still going to be just as bad. Still going to be just as scary for those aborted babies. Now, there was a trend on Twitter today, which I think since we've got the time today, since Alabama's taking so long, I might as well show you guys as well. It came from a former representative from, if I'm remembering, was it Pennsylvania? Well, either way, Steve King, and I'm going to see on his thing on a second, of Iowa. Okay, so from 2003 to 2021, so very established and very accomplished. Steve King tweeted earlier today. He said, today, I spent Juneteenth all day in the hot sun hoeing and pulling weeds and thinking about what it would have been like to be a slave. At the end of the day, I thought about what it would be like to be an aborted baby. I got to see the sunrise and the sunset. Now, he has been trending today because obviously this is a divisive tweet. And there's not much to gain from it because I'm a type of person that's going to read between the lines, and understand the image he's trying to portray here. And I'd say a good amount of people are going to get what he's saying here. But some people are going to be like, you're racist, you're sexist, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic. They're not going to get the actual picture he's trying to paint here. Now, this is about two distinctly disgusting and evil issues. One is illegal now, one is legal now. So he said, I spent Juneteenth all day in the hot sun hoeing and pulling weeds and thinking about what it would have been like to be a slave. So those are the actions of some slaves that were unfortunately having to be taken, which is connected to Juneteenth, which is a holiday. It's been corporatized and all that, but it's supposed to be about, people arriving in Galveston and announcing that slaves are free, although there were still quite a few slaves after that, and people acknowledge other days as their day of freedom more than anything, because not many people can directly say, well, this is my slave lineage, and not also say, oh, but here's my slave master lineage too. Some people weren't even in this country that are, black, and will be like, oh, well, yeah, I came from slavery, but no, your family moved here in the 1960s, and you're second or third generation American. You don't have any history back to that. There's quite a lot of people that are like that. So, trying to get back to the original point of this here, slavery, just a terrible thing, outlawed so long ago, our country has grown past it. The wounds are there, but they're scars now. That's all they are. But we still have a travesty in our nation right now. And it is deeper and worse than slavery in some ways, better in other ways, if really depends how you look at it. I don't think you can really compare them in that way. But at the end of the day, I thought it would be like to be an aborted baby. I got to see the sunrise and the sunset, because even when you survive only under the chains and only under the permission of an owner, like a tyrant, like a slave owner, you get to see this green earth, even as you endure the worst things. A baby doesn't even get that. A baby that gets aborted. Now, some nihilists out there will be like, well, I think that's better. And to them I say, well, maybe you shouldn't see the sunrise again either. And we'll see what you think about it. Or maybe we won't, because you won't have a voice either. So he was trending all day for this, and obviously, people had a bunch of stuff to say in the comments. This one, I'm not even going to play it. I already know what it is. This one's funny. The dog with the mouth open, and this one's funny as well. People are saying, when I'm in a racism competition and my opponent is Steve King. So obviously, you're racist, sexist, Islamophobic. People are going to say all those things, obviously. But when you get to the deeper image of it all, you're going to finally understand it. No one is going to really stomach how terrible abortion is until it's made illegal, and in 100 years, we look back and be like, dude, we really did that? Think about it like this. Let's say in 1865 or so, or 1867, right after the Civil War ended, days after it ended, or whatever time frame you want to give it, within 5 years after it, you can still see all the people that are like, dang, I really wish I still had my slaves. It was great for me and my business, things of that nature. How dare the government take my slaves away? How dare the government make it so that I can't kill my baby? We could look at it the exact same way in 100 years from now. I'd say we're all vibing on the future insofar as we realize that life begins at conception, and when you tear it apart, it is a travesty. A travesty, one of the most disgusting things that we still allow today. Now, of course, there's still slavery out there in the world, in some very sad places, and it might not be as direct as it might have been back in the day, but it's, still there. People will kill themselves to escape from slavery, which is sad, but that's a mental condition there, of, their enslavement. And I'm sure we'll still have abortion in 100 years, but I think we'll realize just how disgusting it truly is. I think we'll realize how many people we lost and what type of actual things were behind the reasons why we did it. Either way, we've got so much more to jump into, a few more topics today, but before we continue, I want to give a quick message from our sponsor, you guys. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey freethinkers, Chandler here, and welcome to the brand new one-of-a-kind commercial break. Here on the Chandler Crump channel, we pride ourselves on straight-talking nature, adherence to facts, resistance to media programming, and a loyalty to the red, white, and blue, above all. These live shows are what I consider to be my job, and I only get paid on tips around here. So if you think I've done a good job or want to encourage me to do even better, then check out the description of this video and go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler. This is our donation processor and the one-stop shop to support all things Chandler. If you choose to, you can even have your name appear on stream to flaunt that you support our show. This is, of course, the illustrious Hall of Heroes bar above me. Another path to the Hall of Heroes is, of course, Cash App. My Cash App code is $ChandlerCR, and it's visible on every one of my streams. Thank you guys so much. Now, let's get back to the show.
Thank you guys for watching that. If you're interested in joining the Hall of Heroes, all those options are available down below, as well as Cash App right there. I'd really love to read out some messages or questions any of y'all have, because I've been struggling to read the chat today. We've got so much to talk about, so if any of y'all have something to shoot my way, you could do so right down there. But anyways, let's jump in and move on forward past all this. Let's take a quick look at what is happening with the children, because this one, oh man, this topic right here, I can't believe it's real. Libs of TikTok, LOT, as you guys know, is a very popular Twitter account that is always out there exposing what is going on. So let's check in and watch this here. A non-binary middle school teacher is upset that people at school aren't using the correct pronouns for them.
So last week, I got really tired of people using the wrong pronouns.
I'm gonna have to turn it up for y'all because it appears this person's audio is super duper quiet. So give me a second, I'll turn it up for y'all so you can hear it just a bit better. Let's run it from the top.
So last week, I got really tired of people using the wrong pronouns for me in emails, despite how many times I've explained it to everyone I work with and everyone I know. I've had mixed Lane Cogdill in my email signature in like 24-point font for the past like 3 years, and pronouns they them right underneath it in like 20-point font for the past like 3 years, and it's in bright purple and you just can't miss it. Besides that, I have a hard time believing, with everything I've already been through, that anybody really doesn't know my pronouns. So last week I decided to change my email signature, and I added a link below my pronouns that says how to use singular they them pronouns, and it's a link to the OWL Perdue page. It's a guide to how to use my pronouns. Education.
Some people are just so hilarious, aren't they? I had to turn that all the way up and it still seemed like it was too quiet for me, but I hope you guys were able to pick up every last word she put down right there. Geronimo, I don't even know how to pronounce that. I think, yeah, no, I don't think I should pronounce that. It says, aw, she got tired of reality? Welcome. Rebecca Kaplan says, did it occur to her that people are deliberately ignoring her nonsense? Bryce says, what is she talking about? She is cringe. Who else said something? Somebody else said something. The Alaskan Dream says liberal voodoo. I think about something else. KGB Show is in the building. Says, yo, Chandler be live? Yes, Sirsky, you know how we do it. You know how we do it. Diane says, yep, Georgia cheating again. Open primary. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I won't call it necessarily cheating. I think a lot of folks could have predicted this happening, but it was still very interesting. Let me unplug my mouse here. I think it's all good now. But this is what your teachers for your students in your schools are doing. Somebody says, you might want to know about this. I don't even. Oh, man. I've seen that. No, I haven't seen that, but I see it, and I don't want to watch it. Somebody said, that's 2 minutes I can't get back. Oh, man. Retweet if you grew up without cable TV or your own pronouns. Well, there you go. That's about something else, but that's also true. Their Buzz Lightyear went woke. The movie went broke. There you go. As you guys can see, people are tired of this in the schools. Emailing. Now, this isn't to the students, although I'm sure this is a confusing look for students to see, but this is in correspondence with other teachers and other staff within the school. Each and every time they refer to somebody named Lane Cogdill. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I saw the word Lane Cogdill, I'd probably assume, well, that's a boy, so I'll call you Mr. Lane Cogdill. Mr. Cogdill. Or if I saw you in person, then I'd call you Miss Cogdill. I don't know what the heck mix is, okay? I'm not going to call somebody Mix Cogdill, because that doesn't make sense. It's not English. It's hard for me to pronounce. I don't know how you expect me to do this. Or Faye Self Cogdill. Somebody help me out here. I need help. We all need help at this point, because this is what they're pushing each and every day. This awful stuff right here. This awful stuff. I might even watch this. No, this is creepy looking. I don't want to watch it. I wanted to touch on that briefly. Show you guys why primaries, even runoffs like this one, matter so very much. Because they need to send somebody up to DC who's going to be like, all right, listen, we got to draw the line. Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to speak out about it. I'm sure Mike Collins and Rich McCormick, who look like they're going to be going up to DC after November, will be talking about it. And though they aren't Trump endorsed, and one of them's even Kemp endorsed, I think it will be very interesting to see as things push on forward. But one person who probably will not be moving on to DC in November is Liz Cheney, who has taken every single chance she can to backstab and betray Donald J. Trump. Now, obviously, Trump power does seem to be waning just a little bit, especially in states like Georgia, where he is just catching after. But Liz Cheney might not be quite as lucky as McCormick or Collins, as her condemnation of Trump was supposed to be aiming at winning over Democrats, but in her district might not be so helpful. Liz Cheney voted for Trump's agenda 93% of the time during his presidency. The Wyoming congressman has an A rating from the NRA, and she has called for the defunding of Planned Parenthood over the group's abortion services. She also comes from a Republican political dynasty, as her father, Cheney, served as a vice president under George Bush. In short, Cheney is no Democrat.
Stop the cap.
But as the Republican vice chair of the January 6th Unselect Committee, Cheney has played a crucial role in presenting the case against Trump and his lies about the 2020 election. Obviously, this is journalism, so whatever. Which culminated in the deadly attack on the Capitol. Yeah, deadly for the protesters. And that has won her a legion of strange bedfellow fans on the left. Even Democrats who disagree with Cheney on almost every other policy issue have expressed admiration for her clear-eyed condemnation of Trump's anti-democratic crusade. Is this an opinion piece? I feel like this is seeming more and more like an opinion piece. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Joan Grev in Washington, D.C. That explains it. I'm not even going to check their Twitter. Maybe I will after I read it. But clear-eyed condemnations. Obviously, you can see where it's going. People in the chat are just laughing. Bryce says, boo, Liz Cheney, boo. We could differ with Representative Cheney and other Republicans on policy, said Harvey, an executive director at the progressive group Stand Up America. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We all care deeply about this country and believe that our democracy must be defended.
Stop the cap.
There is little doubt that Cheney has played hardball on Trump, his allies, and enablers during the committee's first primetime hearing earlier this month. Cheney delivered a stark message to fellow Republican lawmakers. History will remember your misdeeds. This is totally opinion, and now I have to check this person's. It's just going to ask me to tweet it. I wanted to see their page, actually. Hold on. Joan Grieve. We'll do this. I am so curious as to what this person's Twitter looks like. I have to see. I wouldn't have been surprised if I was actually already blocked. That's happened quite a few times. So it's just her posting her tweets. If I'm supposed to assume her gender or not, I don't know. But still, you can see where this stuff stands. Michelle Steele, the former Republican National Committee chairman, Michael Steele, I don't know why I said Michelle, Michael Steele, who has become a vocal critic of Trump and Cheney, said Cheney has offered a welcome contrast to these little, petty, pathetic whiters who don't even have the manhood to stand up to a 76-year-old punk. She's performed in a way that surpasses anything I think anyone would have expected, given the pressure that she has been under. She's holding up a mirror to both Trump and the party and reflecting back on them what we all saw. It's really an indictment coming from a fellow Republican. But it is with Democrats that the new Cheney fan club is most marked. Harvey's group recently conducted a survey among its members and asked them to name political figures who inspire them. Cheney's name came up repeatedly in the responses, with one member from Wisconsin describing her as the only light in an otherwise pitch-dark Republican cellar. So basically, Liz Cheney is now a rhino and is relying on Democrats to win her upcoming primary. Hopefully, they can crossover vote, or maybe they'll have open voting, open primary like they do in Georgia and Alabama, which I said we'd circle back and talk about. And speaking of circle back to talk about, I do want to take another quick, brief look at our primary results. Let's take a check into Alabama, where at long last, guys, believe it or not, we finally have some votes. Katy Britt is leading the pack against Mo Brooks with, Katy Britt with 63% versus Mo Brooks at 36%. Still only about 2% or so of the vote in, but still, that's pretty big. 7,200 to 4,200. Still very few counties actually counted in. And I'm guessing that there's, this is Alabama's counties. They just have so many overlap county names with Georgia, which is just crazy. Like, I was scrolling through, I was like, is this Georgia? Because I know there's so many of these counties: Dallas, Greene, Covington, Colbert, so many of these. But anyways, a few counties finally starting to come in. 1,000 votes here, 1,000 votes there. Lots of results flooding in Alabama as things finally start to tick over. Polls closed almost an hour ago, and they're still only about 3% of the way through. I don't even think we need to look at Virginia again. Let's refresh and see. It's still too close to call on 7. I don't know what's going on there, but the other places are very solid with their candidates: Kiggins, Namkung, Klein, and Vega. I haven't heard of many of those folks, so we'll just have to see what happens with them. And then, of course, taking another brief look at Georgia, probably for the last time, as we say goodbye to Trump-endorsed Vernon Jones and Trump-endorsed Jake Evans. I want to take a brief look and see if either of them have tweeted anything. I know they're probably both very busy at their primary watch parties, although more than likely not very happy nor excited. Let's see here with Jake Evans first. I doubt he's posted anything since the primary has started. They kind of go radio silent, but he's just 2 hours left to vote, which he said 3 hours ago. So nothing more from him, and nothing more from Vernon Jones. Nothing yet. So yeah, I haven't tweeted anything since. But if we take a look at, let's say, Mike Collins, let's see if he's tweeted anything about his victory, at least insofar as it appears. Nothing yet. Or Rich McCormick. We could take a look here. And as you can see, Trump endorsed from 2020. And he severely trails in followers to Jake Evans, which is always the surprising thing. He hasn't tweeted in 9 hours. He didn't even tweet that it was election day. That's crazy. He doesn't have any of those images or anything like that. Well, either way, he's doing quite well. It seems like the Trump endorsement is, not causing wonders for the people. Yeah, people are really curious. What the heck is Dr. Oz's actual name anyways? It's Mehmet. That's his name. Mehmet. 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 I think it's pronounced that way. A lot of people are really curious about what is happening in Georgia. I know some folks here in the stream were like, it must be rigged. I don't think it's rigged, but what is the truth is potentially crossover voting. Now, I'm not saying that had much to do with any of the results today, but in Georgia and Alabama, there is a possibility that Democrats came to vote for Republican candidates in their primary runoff, like for Jake Evans, Rich McCormick, or in Alabama, Katy Britt, or Mo Brooks. Because in Alabama and Georgia, they have a policy called open primary, which means you don't have to be registered to one party or another to be able to vote in the party's respective primaries. So you can be a registered Republican, only ever vote for Trump and DeSantis or whatever it is, but go to your local primary and vote for the weakest Democrat you think. Because, well, hey, you might as well do it if you already know that your candidate, especially if they're running in the same race, has it settled, or if they're not running in the same runoff, but it's two Democrats, you want to go and do it, you can do it. So, it's a very similar situation there between Georgia and Alabama. I hope I explained it well enough. If anybody's got any fact checks, let me know in the chat. I don't want to be saying anything wrong, but I did a lot of research about this before the show just to make sure I had my stuff and my ducks all in a row. But if you guys have any information about that, as well as other states where that's a thing, I saw a whole list, but I focused on the states for tonight, obviously, about what was going on. let me know down in the chat below. But let's keep the music going. We've got the stuff happening with Ron DeSantis taking heavy leads, Mike Collins being called, all these things coming forward. It's a big day, honestly, and I think it's only going to get even crazier. I've been informed by my sources in the back rooms that we have some news regarding Alabama coming out. Wow. Okay, so we've just received a major call for the race in Alabama. We have received a call, and I'm going to pull that up for you guys. Hold on. This is going to be hard to type in, too. I know it is, because this person is heavily shadow banned, but I typed it in exactly. Richard Barris, who is a very well-respected pollster and journalist of data variety, as you can see here, has called the runoff for Katy Britt against Mo Brooks. She will be, according to him, the next Senate nominee for the Republican Party in Alabama, and as you guys know, Alabama is a great red state, so more than likely, the next senator for Alabama, defeating Mo Brooks, the representative from the 5th Congressional. So he will be out. Rich Barris says that race is over, which does so far align with what we have right now, as we have 15,000 votes for Katy Britt, nearly approaching 20,000, as Mo Brooks struggles to even pass 10,000. So that is great. Yes. Big data poll, got all that. All right, so that's big stuff coming from Alabama right there. Do we have any applause in the chat? Dolores says, Chandler, you always have your ducks in a row. I try my best, but I can't say I always do. Matt Rager says, I love Trump, but he can't win them all. Some bad endorsements. I agree. Definitely could have worked a little bit harder. He could have had some rallies for his if he really cared about his congressional candidates in Georgia. He had a telephone rally for Jake Evans just yesterday evening, but he could have come down and done a full rally. We know Trump has the power. He has the power. I'm not even going to say that Trump has lost his power in Georgia. I just believe he has not made great picks. Frankly, I did not know who Jake Evans was before this primary happened. I did know who Rich McCormick was. I didn't know who Mike Collins was, but he ran in the district before, so he had cred there. I knew who Vernon Jones was, but that's because Vernon Jones was closely aligned with President Trump in 2020 and 2021. He has the power to pull back the curtain upon those betwixt the candidates and the viewers. He just has to do it. And he did it with Vernon Jones, and I'd say he even did it back with Rich McCormick in 2020, at least to a minor extent. I'm very close to his area, so that's kind of why I was able to, pick him out of the weeds. But still, he could have worked very harder on this. But his apathy for these races will be his downfall in Georgia. And if he continues with this, as he's losing more and more of these seats in Georgia, and I know he had a big rally for David Perdue, but it didn't push him over the edge. David Perdue was the Trump-endorsed candidate, lost to Brian Kemp, 70% for Brian Kemp, which is major. Jody Hice lost as well. It's not looking good for Trump's power in Georgia. And like I mentioned before, this could have ramifications in 2024 if Ron DeSantis or even some other popular Republican from that area, including maybe even Brian Kemp, decide to throw their hat into the ring for the Republican primary that year. Now, I doubt Brian Kemp is going to do it. He's holding on to his butts for the race against Stacey Abrams, but that will make him very popular as it's going to be a national race again. Everybody wants to talk about Stacey Abrams, so it's a good thing for him. And in a similar situation, although not nearly as close, with Ron DeSantis against Nikki Fried or Charlie Crist, I think the primary still has yet to happen for his re-election later this year in Florida. Both will rise them to national levels, as well, either of them have been majorly involved in some national topics and are members of leaders of Paragon states like Georgia and Florida for red politics. So we'll have to see what happens, but it could spell disaster for Trump come primary season in 2024, especially as campaigning begins later next year. I have to announce the arrival of Thick Wrist in the chat. He says, work was hectic today. Yikes. Glad to be back. Nice to see you, Thick Wrist. Thankfully, no one else has been derailing my chat since you arrived, so I guess it's time for the stream to just fall apart. But if you weren't here just a second ago, Richard Barris has called the race in Alabama for Katy Britt. And wow, it is bad. We were just talking about it a minute ago as Katy Britt was at 15,000 votes to her name with no Mo Brooks at 9,000. Now she is up 16,700, almost to 17,000, with Mo Brooks still struggling to get out of 10,000. So it appears in Alabama that Trump endorsement and the endorsement does have a lot of power, as Trump previously had endorsed Mo Brooks, but as they had a lot of trouble, decided to pull it back and give it to Katy Britt instead. And it looks like she is doing dang well with that. So Trump looks like he doesn't have to worry about Alabama. And I'm receiving word that we have received what appears to be, okay, we appear to have just received a concession from one of the candidates in the Georgia race. Vernon Jones has posted to Twitter 2 minutes ago. While tonight didn't go the way we planned, the fire in my belly for the America First movement will never be extinguished. All eyes towards November. Georgia is not a blue state. It was a stolen state, and we're going to take it back. So that's his tweet he just pushed out. Obviously, it's not, I could concede or anything, but clearly it's been called, and he has frankly, a pitiful margin against Mike Collins. Mike Collins has yet to tweet anything, at least insofar as the last time we checked. I'll take another tweet check here, but yeah, people tweeting all sorts of stuff. People are very upset, but also just kind of like, all right, well, let's move on. Like I said many times before, CD10 between Vernon and Mike Collins was big for Trump, but inconsequential in the general scheme of things, as we're going to see more than likely that Mike Collins will keep to his promise of being a great teammate to Marjorie Taylor Greene, probably not nearly as national. Sorry, my phone is on my desk and rumbling. But she will have a great teammate in Mike Collins, as he proclaims. And if we take another check here on his page and see if he's posted anything quite yet to match Vernon Jones's message out there. Nothing from him yet. And let's see if we have anything from Jake Evans before we move on and read our message we've got here. Yeah, no, nothing from Jake Evans quite yet. His race is, I was going to call it slightly more competitive, but that's like competing, like running a foot race against a Formula One car versus like a jet. But still, you're not going to win. But, well, hey, at the very least, he is almost at 30% of the vote, which is good. It's good to at least not be in the 20s. If you're in the 20s, that's just bad. So Vernon Jones, he was previously a gubernatorial candidate, was not endorsed by Trump, was actually asked by Trump to leave the race. Vernon Jones obliged, joined the congressional race against Mike Collins, got the Trump endorsement there, but sadly it was not enough to push him over the finish line against Mike Collins, who is an established name in that district and has a few other things up his sleeve as well. Jake Evans and Rich McCormick is a little bit more mind-boggling to me, but it was probably more than likely just how well Rich McCormick did in that similar district between 2020 and 2022. If you guys don't remember, Rich McCormick was the Trump-endorsed candidate against Carolyn Bordeaux in Georgia's Congressional District 7, which was previously a competitive seat. The district has been redistricted, so the 6th district, which previously had Lucy McBath, was then given to the 7th district, which is a heavy Democrat district now, not nearly as competitive, and the 6th district now is not competitive, so it's Republican in 6th, Democrats in 7th, so very even, very simple to understand, hopefully. But now there's less battleground. It's more stable there. Carolyn Bordeaux and Lucy McBath fought it out, and Lucy McBath won. Obviously, black girl magic doesn't quite get anywhere near as low as, Carolyn Bordeaux magic. So Lucy McBath got it. But anyways, District 6th is, well, Rich McCormick has that history, and it looks like he's going to teal away with it this time. Geronimos is just trying to decipher why your limbs are mutated, or I thought you were saying mutilated, but it's a small box here. But either way, that one's crazy right there. Geronimo, was your mama Elizabeth Warren? Okay, I don't know what y'all are talking about in the chat. Y'all are going crazy, but we've received crazy word from Alabama. Big stuff coming through. Katy Britt is riding that Trump endorsement. Whoa, the numbers are coming in fast now at 22,000. The margin is appearing to stay about the same, with 62% or so for Katy and 30% or so for Mo, even as their numbers both start to rise as more counties are flowing in. As you can see here, not a single county is Mo Brooks leading in, with red denoting Katy and orange denoting Brooks. It's not looking good, but there's still plenty of race left to happen. I don't believe the Associated Press or anybody else have called the races in Alabama quite yet like they have for Georgia, but let's take another check, because it's always good to be absolutely sure. Obviously, Rich Barris is at the front of it, calling it for Katy Britt. Let's see if he actually did any calls for Georgia's earlier today as well. He's got some big tweets here. 4 hours ago. I think that's a little too old. So he hasn't tweeted about Georgia yet, but obviously I'm sure I don't even think he needs to say anything. But if we take a look at Dave Wasserman, National Republican strategist, favored recruit Jeremy Hunt is in deep danger of losing to Chris West. Yes, I have heard a little bit about that. Obviously not the most competitive place, so not much to talk about there, but that is a thing happening in the 2nd Congressional District as well. Okay, so yep, Dave Wasserman actually posted, and in fact, I think this might have even been before Richard Barris, but he says, I've seen enough. Katy Britt defeats Freedom Caucus Representative Mo Brooks in the Alabama Senate runoff. So this is big. Cook Political says it's a solid R. Clearly, it's Alabama. So Trump endorsement having a good amount of power in Alabama. The thing I've been lamenting the most in these primaries, and I'm sure, a lot of electoral politics people that study it would agree with me, although maybe I have a more nuanced opinion about it, is that midterms like these will spell how well an opposition candidate like Trump will do in the primaries next year around, especially if they're already an established political figure like Trump. So his endorsements will ring true for how well he could possibly do. Now, obviously, it's another candidate like Katy, Britt, who has their own stuff to go off of. And in Georgia, it might just be representative of Vernon Jones and Jake Evans not being amazing candidates. Although I think they were both fine candidates. They worked off the Trump endorsements well. But it also could denote how strong Trump's power is in places like Georgia or Alabama, or maybe even Virginia if he had endorsed any of them up there, which I don't believe he did, or in Pennsylvania, which was very close, but the Trump endorsement of Oz rang true. So it could show you if those primaries are competitive, which it looks like with a lot of people are talking about, it could be a big story. And I do want to touch base on that a little bit by pulling up to you guys this website I saw, which actually has a bet for the next president. Now, I'm trying to figure out what the site was called. I bet it. I think it was like, or something like that. But it was a betting website for the president. And Ron DeSantis has actually pulled ahead of Trump in that betting thing. If I can find it already. It was betting site. Because Ron DeSantis was at like 32 cents. And Trump was at like 30. And Joe Biden was obviously trailing them both. But it was crazy to see Ron DeSantis. I think I just look it up. Ron DeSantis betting website leading Trump. Let's see if I can just find it like this. Pulls in millions. I don't think it's it. I might not be able to find it right now, but it was the most crazy thing I've seen to show you how popular Ron DeSantis is getting. And a lot of people are tired of what Trump has been talking about. The vaccine stuff, not being as strong against the grooming and LGBT stuff. It's crazy. Matt Rager says, looks like Katy is going to sweep. Yeah, it's been called. Yes, Zora, I'm going to get to that. Thank you for reminding me by commenting in the chat. I want to give a big thank you to Zora for joining the Hall of Heroes once again. She says, yes. She says, so the USA goes from Trump to Biden. Who fell off his perch? So true. Big thank you to Zora. I really appreciate you, as always. Love having you here on the channel. I'm going to add your name up to the Hall of Heroes right now for you. Sorry to John L. So Zora B, 450. Or is it? It was what was it? It was 52. So big thank you to Zora for joining the Hall of Heroes. As you guys know, we accept donations in the description below. Also over on Cash App. So if you're interested in supporting our channel and everything I do, you could do so right down there. Let me check in on something over here. Shout out to my folks over on Getter and Rumble, Davini, JR King, all my folks over there, and of course. Over on Rumble, are you Shackleford, Helicon, Joker Ace? I'm sorry, I haven't been reading my Rumble comments. I haven't had so many people in the chat over on Rumble, so y'all need to step it up so I can keep it going. But Joker Ace and Helicon says, rumor has it Vernon has some kind of some charge back in the day. So that's received a lot of talk, and that was a lot of what had to do with Vernon's race. But also Jake Evans has a very similar loss against his candidate, and Jake Evans doesn't have any skeletons in his closet. And actually, Mike Collins has had something come out as well. It wasn't talked about as much, and honestly, the race was so nasty, I didn't want to touch it, but now that it's already come to fruition, I do find it, potent to mention that there was something that came out about Mike Collins as well. Now, as you guys know, accusations are accusations. It's just what they are, so I don't really take them with much grain of salt. If they are investigated further, I'd say investigate them. If things actually come of it, that is what it is, but in the 10th congressional district race, there were accusations against them both. And one happened decades ago, and one was claimed to happen like a few months ago, or at least a year ago. So take it how you will. But either way, the election has happened, and I don't find it prudent to actually bring it up on stream. But that was something that was brought up. And that's what my folks over on Rumble are talking about. Edward Nelson says, great work. Thank you so much, Edward. I'm trying to keep up with what is happening here. Katy, Britt numbers are coming in like crazy. I could definitely say with certainty this is going to go the way of the dodo for Mo Brooks, as the primaries for today are starting to wane. In Virginia, even the 7th, which was taking forever to finally get tallied up, it appears it's finally going for E. Vega. And I don't think they do any primary runoffs here, so it's all set and settled here. E. Vega is going to take it, B. Klein, T. Nem Kung, and Jay Higgins. So if you're in the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th congressional districts of Virginia, congratulations, you have your Republican nominees. And if you care about the Democrat nominees, you've got the 8th. I don't know why the other ones aren't up here. Maybe they already happened or something like that. But that's what's going on with that. A lot of talk about open primaries and things of that nature possibly dictating what happened in Georgia, but I think it's just all in all a case of Trump's weakness really showing. He did not do Georgia right. He had a lot of bad mojo up there, and people were sick and tired with how weak he is on certain issues. Also, not the greatest candidates, and David Perdue was a real suck in the face for everyone. He might as well have endorsed nobody. It probably would have saved him a whole lot of embarrassment with David Perdue and Brian Kemp. Jody Heiss, I can't explain that one, honestly. I don't know how Jody Heiss did not at least go to a runoff with Brad Raffensperger in the Secretary of State's race. That one was crazy to me. In fact, I want to do a little history lesson for you guys and look at the Georgia primaries in May. Now that all the stuff is settled, I want to show you guys just what happened. So we're going to use Ballotopedia, and of course the Senate and all that. We don't need to cover those, but I do want to show you the gubernatorial election primary between David Perdue, Candace Taylor, a few others. Brian Kemp scored with 73%, 800,000 votes over David Perdue's measly below 300,000. It was crazy. David Perdue lost out hard, and that was with the Trump endorsement. That was with a lot of people talking about it. It was everybody sick and tired of Brian Kemp. Nobody thought David could take it to Stacey Abrams, who won with 700,000 votes, and that is in an open primary. So Republicans, Democrats could have came over and voted for David Perdue if they wanted to, but no, Stacey Abrams still scored 700,000. Now, obviously, it being an open primary is very emblematic of how many people will actually get out there and vote, but Democrats have less of an incentive to go out there and vote because they already know Stacey Abrams is the only candidate. So Stacey Abrams scoring this close to Brian Kemp is kind of bad news. But obviously, we'll have to see what happens in November. And Brian Kemp has beat her once, so we'll have to see what happens. But Georgia is, I don't want to call it a swing state, but it's not the strongest red state. People are out there, especially in Atlanta, and the things that are happening with integrity. People are concerned. So we're going to have to see what happens as things move even further. But I do want to show you some of the other races as well, not just about the gubernatorial. I want to show you the Secretary of State race, which was just insane. If I can find it here, other state executive, there you go. And it will be under Secretary of State. It'll take me here. And you can see that Brad Raffensperger won against Jody Heiss, barely beating out the primary. I thought it was further along, but it was 52% to 33%. Jody Heiss was not able to go it over, which is really shows you this is kind of showing Trump weakness now. Obviously, Brad Raffensperger is not nearly as popular as Brian Kemp in the state, but he was extremely unpopular. Every person I talked to when I was out on the field in Georgia for a while under gubernatorial campaigns and volunteering, nobody was happy with Raffensperger. Everybody was like, this guy needs to go. This is Ratburger. We're sick and tired of him. And he stuck around. He stuck around. Obviously, he's going to face off against B. Nguyen now, who was the front runner, obviously, in that, but didn't get off to the away from the runoff. But now, obviously, has given it to D. Hawkins Hagler, who I don't even know who that is. But B. Nguyen and Raffensperger will be the pick this November. We'll have to see what happens, but obviously, it's a red state. I don't think it's going to get anywhere like that. It's getting interesting for Georgia. Alabama's ringing true for Trump. In closing, I think that's where we can see things going right now. Katy Britt has even been called by NBC now. She has the cute little check next to her name, so that's great. The ratio has remained the same, solid, 63 to 36. So Katy Britt's team is going to be celebrating off the walls. I want to take another quick circle through some of the Twitter accounts from Vernon Jones. Here we go. So Vernon says his defeat was not a loss because it was God's will, so I am fine. His campaign tells me Vernon has not spoken to Mike Collins tonight, but that he is committed to making sure Republicans take Georgia back in November. So he's going to campaign, all that good stuff. It's going to be great. Let's take a look at maybe Mike Collins, who I'm sure, based on Mike Collins' tweets, will not be nearly as gracious to Vernon as Vernon is to him. He's been, in fact, I want to show you, I'm not going to get too far into it, but I want to show you just how nasty Mike Collins has been campaigning against Vernon Jones. Like, it was insane. If I can show you some of this stuff. No kids, lives alternative lifestyle, just all sorts of calling him crazy things. And then I want to show you this one thing as well from Mike Collins. Here's the site. Where it had betting against Mike Collins and Vernon Jones, with Vernon Jones at 13 cents to Mike Collins 90. And if I could find the site again, I want to show you the thing. These are actually really good images for campaigning, but I want to show you this one last thing as we scroll. The grift ends in Georgia 10, June 21st. Just craziness against them. Quote tweeting Vernon's tweets. But the one thing I want to show you, I might not get there in time, was Vernon was these whistles that Mike Collins was selling. Here's an image of it. Mike Collins posting a gun next to the whistle, which is really interesting there. There's the Kemp endorsement. I'm not going to scroll much longer to find it. But the whistle that Mike Collins was promoting, like, it is, here you go. I find it right after I quit. They were selling these. These are supposedly supposed to be assault whistles that he was selling against Vernon Jones. That shows you how crazy these these campaign times are right now. I don't know, y'all. It's getting nasty in the primaries. And then last but not least, I want to check and see if Jake Evans or Rich McCormick have posted anything about their respective predicted losses or defeats. Nothing from Jake Evans, who admittedly is still at least a little closer to Rich McCormick in ratio, and there's obviously a good amount of votes left to count, but Rich McCormick has posted his victory tweet. The voters of Georgia's 6th have spoken, and I am honored to be their Republican nominee. While encouraged by the outpouring of support from every corner and every community, the real work begins now in earnest. We must unite the party to secure victory in November for Georgia Republicans up and down the ballot. Together we will revive freedom and save America. So obviously a lot of people are very upset. I'm sure Trump will be upset. In fact, I do want to take a brief look over on his Truth Social. I doubt he posted anything. I'm sure his media team would tell him not to, but yeah, he hasn't posted anything in 12 hours. Sheesh. I want to see if anybody's been talking about, let's just look up Georgia 10 here on Truth Social and see if anybody's talking about it here. I don't want to miss out on anything. Stacy can get that many votes. Helicon talking about how many votes Stacy got. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. Is nobody talking about? Let's just do Georgia. If I could do truths. Vote Trump endorse Jake Evans tomorrow, June 21st. Time traveled to Georgia with MTG. This paragraph is amazing. So obviously a lot of people stumping for Jake Evans here. Obviously it's a Trump platform, but yeah, primaries and runoffs, people talking about it, but yeah, Trump-backed Vernon Jones election has been called, so people posting that, obviously. A lot of news, just all sorts of things. Vernon Jones runoff, all of it. People were talking, people were chattering. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very surprised about how things have actually come through, and I'm not the only one. I expected Vernon Jones to pull it off, honestly. I didn't know about Jake Evans and Rich McCormick, but I saw a lot of on-the-ground support for Vernon Jones when I was in that area. So Mike Collins pulling it off with nearly 3/4 of the vote here, as you can see. Heavy. And Rich McCormick still performing just as well, already posting his tweet. It looks like things are ringing true in Georgia and Alabama for the respective candidates, and it's only time that will tell as things fold in November, but obviously these are districts where it's heavily red, so this is really the election night right here between these candidates that have all so far been predicted. It's going to be good. And as Thick Chris wraps it up, I'm going to give you guys a resounding
Rub my leg down.
as we wrap things up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our show tonight. I really appreciated bringing you guys all the information about the elections and all that goodness. Obviously, I'm really thankful to everybody who has smashed that like button. We're at 96 likes. If we can get 4 more likes before we wrap things up, I really appreciate that. I want to give a big thank you to Zora, who donated to support the show. If anybody else is interested in doing it, we'll be back live again tomorrow. But if you want to do so in between now and then, I will of course give you a shout out live tomorrow. Your options are of course available in the description or also up here. Cash App donations. Cash App code is Chandler CR. We also of course have MyPillow, so if you're interested, go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP for a great night's sleep. And to those candidates that lost, I'm sure it's gonna be a hard night to sleep, but you could do so using your very own MyPillow today. Aside from all that, though, we'll be back tomorrow at 4 for another look back at how things went tonight and also the brand new news of the day. As you guys know, we go live on Mondays and Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 4 and 8, respectively, on Mondays, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the rise of intelligence. Peace.